Hi, it's Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are making this gorgeous diamond acorn bed runner. If English isn't your first language, you can click on this gear on the video and scroll through to find your preferred dialect. And this easy-to-follow step-by-step crochet tutorial is available in both right and left-handed, so please check the description box below to find the version that suits you best. It works up so quick because we are not working into all these spaces, so it looks like a huge project. It is a huge project, but it is really fast because we're skipping about half of the stitches going along. So we're only working into our little acorns here, and then moving on to the next acorn. So it is super fast and easy, perfect for beginners or for just having a really relaxing, therapeutic crochet project. You are going to love this pattern so much. It is a 2-row repeat, so we're just doing 2 different types of rows, but we start and finish the exact same way no matter what we do. So if you struggle with a nice straight edge, this pattern is for you. Plus, it has this gorgeous border included in the pattern. So sweet, just to finish off those acorns on the edge. If you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, all of my patterns are available on my website, secretyarnery.com. And you don't have to worry about being able to read a pattern. All of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. The finished size of mine is 6 feet wide by 3 feet tall. But of course, you could make yours any size you like just by increasing your starting chain. You can use any yarn at all, anything you have on hand. This is Magic Worsted from Ice Yarns, and I'm using Softly Baby for the border. I used 800 grams of Magic Worsted, the size 4 worsted weight acrylic, and that works out to be 1,480 meters. I am using a 7-millimeter crochet hook. You'll also need a needle, 31 stitch markers, and a pair of scissors. If you find this tutorial helpful, please subscribe to my channel for more. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. To start, we're just going to make a slip knot any which way you normally do, and leave a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Shrink that down and pop it onto your hook. This pattern is a multiple of 7 plus 3, which means you just chain 7 and then 7 and then 7, and at the very end, when it's the width you want it to be, you would chain 3 more. But I am going to show you how to do a chainless foundation, so a single crochet chainless foundation, so we don't have to work into our chain. If you haven't done this technique before, just give it a try. I'll go super slow with you. I'll also link a tutorial up in the cards for you to just practice this technique. If you really want to do a chain, you can do a chain and just work your way back in single crochet. But give this a try. You can do it. So start with a chain 2. 1 and 2. And always make sure you're pushing those loops up onto the fat part of your hook. And we're going to go into that very first chain we made right here. So just pop your hook in and bring your yarn back, everything up onto the fat part of your hook, and chain 1, everything onto the fat part of your hook. And now you have yarn on your hook, and you have 3 strands underneath it. You want to go right in here. That's where we're going to be pinching it. So I just pinch. So there's 1 strand on top of my thumb, and 2 strands I'm pinching. And now we do our single crochet. So wrap your yarn and take off both loops. Back up onto the fat part of your hook. And now we're just going to put our hook right into where we're pinching. So those 2 strands go on my hook. Bring your yarn back. Everything on the fat part of your hook. And chain 1. So there's our chain that we're doing, and we're just going to pinch it right there. So we have 1 strand on top of your thumb and 2 strands underneath it. And now we do our single crochet. So wrap your yarn and take off both loops. The trick is to always keep putting everything back onto the fat part of your hook so all of your chains and stitches are the right size. And now just put your hook right in where we're pinching it. So 2 strands that were underneath my thumb are now on top of my hook. Bring your yarn back through. So now we're going to do our chain 1. Pinch. So 1 strand on top of my thumb and 2 strands underneath. And now we do our single crochet. Back part of your hook again, right where we're pinching, slide those 2 loops or 2 strands on your hook. Bring your yarn back, make everything big, chain 1, pinch, and single crochet. So we're just going to do our chain and our single crochet at the same time all the way along. So into where we're pinching, slide those 2 loops from under our thumb onto your hook. Bring your yarn back, make everything big, chain 1, pinch, and make your single crochet. Back part of your hook into where you're pinching. So those 2 strands from under your thumb go onto your hook. I lost a strand there. There we go. Bring your yarn back, chain, pinch, single crochet. So into where we're pinching, 2 strands on our hook. Bring it back, make it big, chain 1, pinch, single crochet. So we can just do that together and pause the video and just practice if you need to. So in, bring your yarn back, make everything big, chain, pinch, single crochet. Into where you're pinching, bring your yarn back, make everything big, chain, pinch, single crochet. So we're going to keep doing that all the way along, doing our chain, pinch, single crochet, chain, pinch, single crochet, chain, pinch, single crochet. So pause the video and keep working along, doing your chainless foundation. So your chain and your single crochet all the way along. We want a multiple of 7, but you could make yours any multiple of 7. And how you're going to count your stitches, if you've done the same style I have, the chainless foundation, just look at the top, those pretty little V's, grab your stitch markers, and our first stitch that counts is right here, that V right there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So into the 7th, just those 2 loops of that V, I'm going to pop in a stitch marker. So you can pause the video and keep working along until all 31 of your stitch markers are used up, or your starting chain, your chainless foundation, is the width you want your blanket to be. And this will be going across your bed. So pause the video and I'll meet you when your chainless foundation is the length you want it to be. So when you've done your sets of 7, you've used up all your stitch markers and your chainless foundation is the width you want your blanket to be, go ahead and make 3 more. So the multiple is 7 plus 3. So do 3 more chainless foundation, single crochet. There. So there is our extra 3 stitches. And that finishes the chainless foundation single crochet row, or row 1 of our bed runner. To start row 2, which is a repeat row, chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and turn your work. So to turn your work, so our chain is facing us nicely to work into, slide your hand under your work, grab your work, and bring it back across. So that's how we can turn our work so our chain is ready for us when we get to it. Now we're going to skip the first stitch right here because our chain counts as our first double crochet. And we're going to work into the second stitch right there. So into the second stitch, we're going to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and now we're going to skip 6. So we've worked into this stitch right here. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to work into the 7th, which is right here. And you can also tell with our stitch markers that it is 2 stitches before the stitch marker. So see our stitch marker? There's 1 and 2. We're going into the space before. Stitch marker, 1 and 2, we're going into that space right before. So you can use your stitch markers to line up where we're going to be working into our chain. So you don't really have to count those chain 6s all the way across, or the skipping 6. We're just going to be working 2 stitches before our stitch markers. So wrap your yarn and into the 7th stitch right there. We're going to do 3 double crochet. There's 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and 3 more double crochets into that same stitch. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, 1 and 2, skipping 6 again and working into the 7th, which is that second stitch before our stitch marker. So skipping 6, and we're going to do another one of those shells. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets all into the same stitch. There's 3, chain 2, and our 3 double crochets all into the same stitch. We're building like a little hill. And chain 2. So we're going to do that all the way along our work into the 7th stitch. All the way along, we're going to be doing this little shell, this little mountain. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets with a chain 2 in between all the way along. So skipping 6 and into the 7th stitch right there. We're going to do our little hill. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets all into the same stitch. And chain 2. You can pause the video and keep working along, doing your 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets into the stitch, chaining 2, skipping 6, and doing it into that 7th stitch all the way along, and I'll meet you when you get to the end of your row. At the end of the row, we're going to do the same thing, so skip 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, into the 7th, which is the second stitch before the end of the row, right here. We are going to do 3 double crochets. So into that second to last stitch, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And into the last stitch, 1 double crochet. So how we start our row and how we finish our row is the same every time. So that finishes row 2, and now we're going to do row 3, which is exactly the same thing, except we're going to have a chain to work into at the beginning. So now we're going to start row 3, which is exactly the same, except we have chains to work into now instead of stitches. So go ahead and do your chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn your work. Skipping that first stitch where our chain came from and working into the second, we're going to do 3 double crochets. So our rows are always starting like that no matter what we're doing in the center, and we're always going to do a chain 3, turn, and 3 double crochets into the second stitch. That is always how we are starting each and every row of this pattern. Now for this row, we are repeating these chain 2s and hills. So chain 2, 1 and 2. And now we're just going to jump straight over. This is where this pattern gets really nice and fast. We are just going to be working in to the center of our hills for the rest of the pattern. So the slow part is over. Now we are ready to really pick up some speed. So into the center of our hill, we're going to make another hill. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets into the center or into the space of the hill down below. So there's my 3 double crochets, chaining 2, and 3 more double crochets into that space of the hill. Chain 2, and then jump over to your next hill right over there and make a hill. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. All into the same space. Chain 2, jump over to the next hill and make a hill. 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, all into that same center space of the hill down below. Chain 2, and jump over to your next hill and do the same thing. Make another hill into the center space of the hill down below. So you can pause the video and keep working all the way along your row, making a hill into the center of each hill with a chain 2 in between. And I'll meet you when you get to the end of your row. At the end of your row, don't forget to do that chain 2 after your last hill. And now into the last double crochet, which is right here. Remember, we did 3 double crochets, and we're going to work into this last one right there, 2 strands on the top of your hook. And that's where we're going to put our new 3 double crochets, or the last 3 double crochets of this round, the last set. And then we're also going to work into our chain. And because we turned our work the way we did, our chain is waiting for us. We just pick this one loop and slide our hook right underneath. That gives us 2 strands on the top of our hook for our last double crochet. The last double crochet goes into the chain, and this is how we finish every single row all the way for this project. Always 3 double crochets into the last stitch and 1 double crochet into the chain. So that doesn't change no matter what row we are working on for this pattern. So that finishes row 3. To start row 4, which is the fun part, this row we get to make our acorn. We chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work into the second stitch. We're going to do our 3 double crochets. One, 2, and 3. And now we're going to do something different. So this is where this row is different and why it is so fun. We're going to do a chain 1. And then these 2 strands of yarn, we're going to go around both of them. So just pop your hook under that lower space or into that lower space and up behind and make 1 single crochet around both of those strands. I'm using a bit of tension. Don't really need a big, spacey single crochet, just a regular one. And chain 1. Remember to push everything up onto the fat part of your hook. And that ties together our rows. Now into the top of the next hill, we're going to do a hill. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, just like usual. And now this is where we do something different. So we're going to do a chain 1. We're going to single crochet underneath both of those strands or both of those chains. 1 single crochet around both and chain 1. And yes, see how it's all curling up and stuff? They're all going to flip over for this row. Totally fine. Don't worry about it. Jumping straight over to the top, that center of our next hill, we're going to do a hill. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, all into that same center space. Chain 1, 1 single crochet around both of those strands or both of those chains, 1 single crochet, and chain 1. We're making these really great, united, cute little acorn clusters together. So no matter what, it just pinches everything together and turns any yarn into something so fantastic. So into the center of your next hill, you're going to make a hill. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, all into the same space. And then we're going to work around those 2 chains. I'm going to tie those together. You're going to unite them. So chain 1, and put your hook underneath that lowest or into the space below the lowest strand or lowest chain, and make 1 single crochet. Using a bit of tension, we don't need a sloppy single crochet. It's a regular one. Chain 1, and then into the next hill, you're going to make a hill. So you can pause the video and keep working along, doing a hill into the hill. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And then chaining 1, single crocheting around everything, and chaining 1 again, and jumping straight into the next hill. You can pause the video and keep working along, and I'll meet you when you get to the end of this row. At the end of your row, we're going to do the same thing. So chain 1 and single crochet around those 2 chains, just to pin them together to unite those cute rows. So 1 single crochet and a chain 1. So now we're going to finish off with 3 double crochets into that last real double crochet and 1 double crochet into the top of the chain. So wrap your yarn and into the last real stitch, 3 double crochets. And 1 double crochet into the top of the chain. So that's the same start and finish no matter what we're doing. We're getting this cute little semicircle at the beginning and end of our rows. So now you can pause the video and just keep repeating rows 2, 3, and 4. all the way along until you are out of yarn or your bed runner is the height you'd like it to be. As you're working on your project, it is super easy to know what row you're on. The end of your row and the beginning of your row are always the same, so you don't even have to worry about what to do at the end of your row. It's the same. Every single row is the same, and it starts the same, so you're always starting with your chain 3 and your 3 double crochets into that second stitch. Then when you turn your work and you have 2 bars, you know it is time to pinch them together. So instead of doing a chain 2 all the way along, you're going to do a chain 1, single crochet, and chain 1, just to pinch those 2 parallel bars together. If you turn your work and you only see 1 bar, then it is time to do another row. Just repeat that same row. And if you turn your work and you just have your acorn, you don't have any bars at all, then it is time to do 2 rows, just regular rows with those chain 2s in between. So that is an easy way to tell what you have to do. And it really helps that the start and finish, every single row is the same. So all you have to look for is how many bars you have in between your clusters, and that'll tell you what you need to do. So pause the video, keep working along, and I'll meet you for that very last row. When your bed runner is the size you want it to be, or you have almost run out of yarn, I just have a little bit left. I don't have enough yarn to do a full set of those 3 rows, so I'm just going to be finishing off now. So you want to end when you have just completed your last row of acorns. So to start the last row, chain 1 and turn your work. Now into this very first stitch right here, we're going to do 1 single crochet. And also 1 single crochet into the second stitch. So into the first stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the second stitch, 1 single crochet, and now chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to single crochet into the top of the next hill. 1 single crochet into that space, chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1 single crochet into the top of the next hill. Just that center space, 1 single crochet, chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then into the top of the next hill right over there, 1 single crochet. You can pause the video and keep working along, doing a single crochet into the top of the hill and a chain 6 to jump to the next one all the way across. And I'll meet you when you get to the end of your row. At the end of your row, I've done my single crochet and chain 6. Now we're going to work into that last double crochet with 1 single crochet. So the last real double crochet gets a single crochet. Same spot we were doing our 3 double crochets for the rest of the pattern. So 1 single crochet into that last stitch and 1 single crochet into the chain. Like that. Chain 1 and turn your work. Now into the very first stitch right here, we're going to do a single crochet and a single crochet into that next stitch as well. So into the first stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. And now into each of our chains. So if you just look at these bottom loops, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're just going to make 1 single crochet into each. You want 2 strands on the top of your hook to get a nice even finish. So 1 single crochet into each, a total of 6 single crochets. Just into your chain. Take your time. We are finished this yarn. It's our last row of this yarn color. So just enjoy it. It is slower than the rest of our blanket, but it is worth it. So there is our first. So it looks like that. Now into our stitch, into that single crochet, 1 single crochet. And then after that single crochet into the stitch, your first chain is a bit smaller. It's that little guy right there. So just make sure you always look for that first, see that little stitch right there? That is where we're going to put our first single crochet. You need to have 6. Just make sure you get into that first chain after the real stitch, and then the rest of them are easy. Like that, and 1 single crochet into the stitch. And then just repeat that all the way along the top of your bed runner or your bed cover. So 1 single crochet into the stitch and 1 single crochet into each of these 6 chains all the way along, and I will meet you when we get way over here to the end of our blanket. When you reach the end of your row, we're going to do our last 2 single crochets into those last 2 stitches. So 2 single crochets to finish, 1 into each stitch. And chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. Rotate your work. We still want to be working into the front side of our bedspread or bed runner, and you can tell just by these cute little V's facing up, that is the top of our bed runner. And we're going to start right here in this corner. So take a loop of your border color, and we're going to work into this very first stitch. Right there, so 2 strands of that stitch on the top of your hook. So just pop your hook in, loop of yarn on your hook, bring it back, slip stitch with both strands to join, drop your tail just holding along the back of your work, and chain 1. Now we're going to jump right over here into this space. So how you're going to tell where to work in your border, you can see where we have made our acorns. We've pinched together our work here, here, here. That is where we're going to be making our border. So there is a space right there we're going to be working into. There is a space right here we're going to be working into, and a space right there we're going to be working into. They're quite large loops. We're going to be working around that entire stitch right there. So into the first space, we're going to make 1 treble crochet. So wrap your yarn twice, and into that space in the same row as where we pinched together, 1 treble crochet. And 2 double crochets. Chain 2, and 3 double crochets into that same space. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now look for that next space. Remember, look for where we have pinched them together and just go straight out to the edge. That last stitch, we're going to work in right before it. So that big space we're going to go into, and we're going to do another one of these shells. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets all into the same space. There is 3, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets into the same space. So these are the same shells we were doing for our bedspread or our bed runner. Now we're just working them in to the side space along our work. So that is our shell, and we're going to chain 3 to get to the next one. So 1, 2, 3, and we're going to scoot over, look for where our eggs are joined, and right there is where we're going to work in. So wrap your yarn, and we're going to do a shell. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and jump over to the next space. So look at where they're pinched and go straight out right before that last stitch. We're going to make our border right into that space. So do your shell, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And chain 3 to get to the next one. 1, 2, 3. So you're going to pause the video and keep working along, doing a shell into the space, chaining 3 and doing a shell into the next space, all the way along, and I'll meet you when we get to the end of our row. Into the last space along the side, we're going to do 3 double crochets. We're just going to do a mirror image of how we started. So 3 double crochets, chaining 2, 2 double crochets, and 1 treble crochet. So wrap your yarn twice, and our last stitch is a treble crochet. Chain 1, and now into this last stitch right there, 1 single crochet. Chain 1 and turn your work. Into this very first stitch, right there, we're going to do 1 single crochet and chain 1. Now into the center of our stitches right here, we're going to do 4 double crochets instead of 3. So make sure for this whole row, we're doing sets of 4. So there's 4 double crochets, chain 2, and 4 more double crochets into that same space. Just like that. And now chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and jump over to your next center, what's going to be the center of our acorn right there. And we're going to do 4 double crochets, chain 2, and 4 double crochets, all into the same center space. So just keep an eye that you're doing 4 double crochets because we've done 3 for the whole pattern. So it's easy to just go 3 and then skip over. So every time you're doing a chain, just look back and make sure you've done 4. So 4 double crochets, chain 2, and 4 double crochets all into the same space. Just like that. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and jump over into the center of the next acorn right over here. So you can pause the video and keep working along. 4 double crochets, chain 2, 4 double crochets, and then a chain 3 to get to your next acorn over here. So pause the video and keep working along, and I'll meet you when you get to the end of the row. At the end of your row, I've done my 4 double crochets, chain 2, 4 double crochets. Now we're going to chain 1 And now we're going to make a single crochet right into this first stitch we made. We want to make sure we have 2 strands on the top of our hook. So 1 single crochet into that last stitch, just like that, and that finishes row 2. To start row 3, chain 1 and turn your work. Now into the center of our acorn right there, we are going to do 4 double crochets, picot, and 4 double crochets. So 4 double crochets to start. And then we're going to do a picot. So picots are a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go into those 2 loops at the bottom of our chain. Those 2 side loops right there, we're just going to pop our hook right into that. We're underneath those 2 strands, and we're going to slip stitch to make a picot. So slip stitch, and 4 more double crochets into that same space. Now in between our acorns, we are going to chain 2, and we're going to go in right here. There's a little space in between those acorn bases. We're going to go right up and underneath all of those rows. So pop your hook into that space between the acorns and single crochet around all of it and chain 2. So that is our first acorn done. And we're going to repeat that all the way along the edge of our bed runner or our blanket. So into the space, 4 double crochets, picot, and 4 double crochets. So there's my 4 double crochets. Now to picot, we chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to slip stitch underneath these 2 loops right there. So just slide your hook under those 2 strands and slip stitch. And 4 more double crochets into that same space. 1 and 2, 3, and 4. So that is what we're doing at the top of our acorns. And now in between them, in the valley, we do a chain 2, single crochet into this space. We're going to go into that space, underneath everything, and single crochet, and chain 2. So that is the repeat for this row. You can pause the video and keep working along, doing your 4 double crochets, picot 4 double crochets, and then your chain 2, single crochet into this space in between our acorns and underneath everything, and then chaining 2. So pause the video, keep working along, and I'll meet you when you get to the end of your row. So at the end of your row, I've finished the 4 double crochet, picot, and 4 double crochet. So we're just going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet into this stitch right there. 1 single crochet, just at the edge of that border. So single crochet, and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. You could also join with an invisible join if you felt like it, but I don't think it's really necessary for this particular pattern. Then, of course, go ahead, smooth out your border, arrange your picots, give them a little pull so that you like how they look. And now we are ready to do the same thing on the other side. To do the same thing on the other side, we just want to rotate our work. We want to be working into the same side. So we're not turning our work. It's very big though. Okay, there's my end. So the same side is up as my other border. So we want both of our ends of our bed runner matching. So we started by working into the pretty side of our work. So we're going to be working into the pretty side of the bed runner on the other side as well. And we're going to start in this chain. So once we've done this, you can just do the exact same thing as we did on the other side. Let me use a color that you can see. You're going to work into the center of that chain, and you want 2 strands on the top of your hook, and you just want to be in the middle of it to make your new corner. So that is where we're going to be popping in our crochet hook, bringing your loop of yarn through, and slip stitch with both strands to join. And now do the exact same thing as we did on the other end of your bed runner. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video up there, and stay hooked.